بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الخلق أجمعين. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وارحمنا واهدنا واهد بنا وعافنا يا رب العالمين، واجعلنا يا ربنا من عبادك الصالحين، وارحمنا برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وأنت العزيز وأنت الكريم. اللهم ربنا إنا نسألك العفو والعافية، ونسألك يا ربنا الرزق، ونسألك يا ربنا حسن المآب، ونسألك يا ربنا جنة الفردوس يا رحمن يا رحيم. Inshallah, we will continue on with the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the 1,000 hadith, the picked or chosen hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari. Inshallah, we are in the hadith number 945, and this is the chapter of Babu Kayfa Yubayi'u Nasu al-Imam, the chapter of how do people make mubaya'ah. Al-mubaya'ah is when you make an oath for you to take Islam. In the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way people used to enter Islam, they used to address the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly, and he used to tell them what to do, how to do, and make shahada and all these different things. And he used to stretch out his hand, and they used to shake hands with him, saying that we give you an oath, we give you the bay'ah, we giving you the promise is that for us to comply with whatever you ask us for. This is called mubay'ah. And from the earliest ways of mubay'ah is obviously, we know from Muhajirin, the bay'ah of, we speak of, like you could easily say it that, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu and the early Sahaba, how they make mubay'ah. But the big bay'ah that we speak about is when the Ansar, they made the two bay'ah in the first one, bay'at al-Aqaba, and the second one, where the Ansar came into Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the year 12 and 13, right before he made hijrah from Makkah to Medina. The first time was about 14 people or so, more or less. The second time was more than 70 people, and there's a few women amongst them. And this is called the bay'ah, the second bay'ah that they made mubay'ah. This hadith is that how do, and this is the chapter, the heading, كيف يبايع الناس الإمام, how do people make mubay'ah to people, to imam or the leader. And the hadith is خرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في غداة باردة والمهاجرون والأنصار يحفرون الخندق. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم went out in Ghadat, one, like towards the evening, towards the afternoon, late afternoon, and Barida was a little bit cold. وَالْمُهَاجِرُونَ and the Ansar, the Muhajirin and the Ansar, they were digging the ditch or digging the khandaq or the ditch. So automatically we know what time this was. We know that it was the year 5 where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muhajirin and the Ansar in Medina, they were preparing for the attack of the Quraysh and their allies, the 10,000 people army. They would be attacking the Medina. And we know that the story simply that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made mashwa. He consulted all the Sahaba inside the Medina what to do. Shall we go out and meet them outside when the army comes, or shall we wait in Medina and wait for them to come to Medina? And we know from experience what they had the year before or a couple of years before in the Battle of Uhud, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not want to leave Medina. He wanted Quraysh to come to Medina and for him to fight them in Medina. That was his opinion. The opinion of some of the Sahabi were for him to leave Medina and go meet them outside. But since it was overwhelming, and especially that was the opinion of Hamza radiallahu anhu, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, was on that side of leaving the Medina. Everybody took off. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam complied with the mashwara, even though it's against his own personal opinion of what to do. The second time around, obviously, because of the result of the end result of what has taken place in the Battle of Uhud, everybody kind of surrenders, like whatever that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam would say, even though they did put in their opinion. So the opinion is that for them to stay in Medina. Now, how are they going to defend it? What are they going to do? What is the preparation? And we know their story that Salman al-Farisi, radiallahu anh, he says, he stepped up and he said, Ya Rasulullah, we in Persia, uh, we used to do something that if we are under attack in Medina or something like that, we used to, if there's no natural, barriers between us and the army that's attacking us, what we'll do is we'll dig a ditch. So we'll be able to impede them, we'll be able to slow them down, and they're not going to be able to attack us from many places in this condition. So everybody agreed on the idea, even though it was not known to the Arabian Peninsula before and the occupants in the Arabian Peninsula before. It's something new. It's a radical something that the Sahaba did, and they started to dig the trench or the ditch or the khandaq, you know. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he left. He's going to see the Muhajirin, the Ansar. He left his home. He's going there, and they were digging. That's before the army arrived, the attacking army. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he saw them. He recited a portion of poetry that is Abdullah ibn Rawaha, the poet. He made up and says, Allahumma inna al-khayra khayrul akhirah فاغفر للأنصار والمهاجرة. This poetry. Ya Allah, the khayr, the good is the khayr of the end, the akhirah, the life after. فاغفر, Ya Allah, forgive or give maghfirah for muhajirin, for al-ansar wal-muhajirah. And it's rhythmic, is beautiful. فأجابوا, they answered back, al-ansar wal-muhajirin, they answered back, نحن الذين بايعوا محمدا على عفوا, I'm sorry. نحن الذين بايعوا محمدا على الجهاد ما بقينا أبدا. And they answered them back. Their answer was reciting poetry. And that was very well-known thing to do, is that for them to recite some kind of poetry or, to say it in a poetic and a rhythmic way. They said, نحن الذين, we are the ones who make mubay'ah, who gave the oath of following to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Of what? Ala jihad, for us to spend the effort to put the juhd of jihad. Ma baqina abada, of any time we are alive, anytime we are here, we are going to spend this effort for the sake of, of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We understand from this hadith is that the mubay'ah at their own time, it was about spending the effort for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not just for us to spend a few words, for us to say, yeah, we'll have salah, we'll have, we'll give you shahada, we'll admit with shahada, salah, siyam, fasting and making hajj. It's more than that. It's for you to spend effort and for you to be committed on spending the effort as long as you live. This is not something to be retracted, not something to change your mind on, not something that you could possibly contemplate at any time in your life. The Muhajirin and the Ansar, they were in the ditch, they're digging, and they are showing more and more commitment that they will never back off from their mubay'ah to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The hadith number 946, inshallah. And Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with both of them, he said that when we gave mubay'ah to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كنا إذا بايعنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على السمع والطاعة. When we used to make mubay'ah, give an oath of following, of believing of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we used to give an oath for two things. السمع, for us to listen, والطاعة, for us to obey. سمع, listening, سمع, listening, والطاعة. And you understand from the Quran, with the Bani Israel, what they told Musa, قالوا سمعنا وعصينا. We said we heard, but we disobeyed. But the oath here is that for us to listen to what the Prophet ﷺ would say, and for us to obey the orders. So Rasulullah ﷺ will answer back when they say, "We give you an oath, we will listen and we will obey." The Prophet ﷺ, part of the rahmah, part of his etiquette, part of what he used to say is that, say, فِيمَا اسْتَطَعْتُ, with everything that I'm able to do. من الاستطاعة, from the ability and the capability. In other words, don't give a promise that you might not be able to comply with because of your own ability, your own, you know, character, because whatever situation you're in. So give an oath, as give an oath, say, I will promise, I will give an oath that I will listen and I will obey. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say, add to it, فيما استطعت, as long as I'm able and capable. So we understand from this two things, or one of two things. Number one is that of the great that oath, how it is. When you make a promise like this, especially following a prophet, with the deen, with actions, whatever, it's a huge deal. It's not something to be taken lightly. So when you give that promise, sometimes you are overlooking the fact that you might not be able to because of whatever reason. So don't make that promise unless you are capable and you are 100% sure you can comply with. And obviously you can't, because we are still human beings. We still have some kind of weakness of it. So this hadith here tells you the importance and the greatness of the oath. The oath is to be given to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Will be understood this way, and will be also understood as to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his, his being so insightful in the future and the capabilities of his Sahaba. He used to give them or tell them what to say in the proper way for them not to get themselves in trouble later down the road, as to find an escape route down the road if they cannot comply with that oath. And he said, Mastata'at, as long as I'm capable, I will comply, I will listen, I will obey. By the way, sometimes this kind of language is understood in many different hadith. Is that sometimes you raise the value of something by demean something, or you demean something to raise the value of something else. Like for instance, let me give an example of this. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the hadith says, ركعتين قبل صلاة الفجر, 2 rak'ah before صلاة الفجر, خير من الدنيا وما فيها, is better than earth and what's in it. 2 rak'ah, which is sunnat prior to Fajr, the one supersede the Fajr Salah, the 2 rak'ah. Either Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says is better than the dunya, better than earth and what's in it. So what do we understand from this hadith? We understand from it is that either truthfully, really, these 2 rak'ah is really better than earth and what's in it, as to imply or to comply is how great they are, or it means that it could possibly mean that the earth and what's in it so minuscule, so small, like no big deal. Even 2 rak'ah before Salat Fajr, better than that. Right? So when we understand this hadith in the same kind of sort of the same concept, is that we got to look at it is that how important as it is and what is the placement of it. So maybe Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he told them that, he said, فيما استطعت, with everything that I'm capable of, to imply to them, to make them understand the importance of that oath, and for them not to ever violate it in any which way, to make it great, to give it the value, and make it to understand within their hearts is that you really, really understand how big it is, how big of a deal this is in that concept. Or, and possibly the meaning here, like what I mentioned, is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was making an escape route, or make them understand that there is, do the best of your ability as long as you can for you to comply with that goal of yours, to comply and for you to listen and obey, and with the best of your ability. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam. Hadith number 947 inshallah. And Abdullah ibn Dinar. Abdullah ibn Dinar used to be Mawla, used to be a slave for Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma. He used to be a slave and he was set free. So Abdullah ibn Dinar he used to witness and he used to follow Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma everywhere that he went. He said, and this is the same chapter by the way, about the bay'ah. The bay'ah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam for him, for the prophecy, for them to follow the Prophet on and on. How about the bay'ah and the oath for you to follow a leader, a king, khalifa, and on and on? How is it said? And this is the chapter that talks about all these different versions of it. And Abdullah ibn Dinar, he said that I witnessed Ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Umar, radiallahu anhuma, حين اجتمع الناس على عبد الله على عبد الملك. عبد الملك ibn Marwan. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan is the fifth Khalifa from the Umayyad line, the fifth. And Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anh, he witnessed his Khilafah when he became Khalifa. So, and we know that the sequence, the very first Khalifa from Umayyah, after it was transferred from Khilafah Rashida, from Ali ibn Abi Talib, it went to Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan, the first Umayyad Khalifa. Afterwards, took after him Yazid ibn Muawiyah, his son Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And then his other son, which is the son of Yazid, his name is Muawiyah ibn Yazid. And then it was Marwan ibn al-Hakam. He was his cousin from Bani Umayyah. And then Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, that was the fifth, number 5. And this is sometime maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the time for us to talk in historical context of how the transfer of power had taken place between them. But you notice that how the Khilafah, when it transferred from the 4 Khalifa, the first 40 years from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from the Hijrah all the way to the first 40 years, to the 41 years when Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan took over, it turned into some kind of inheritance. They used to pass it on to their sons of sons, and on and on. And the last one here in line is Muawiyah ibn Yazid. Muawiyah ibn Yazid was very fearful of taking the Khilafah, and everybody gathered for them to give him the Khilafah, and he did not want to do it. So he locked himself up for 40 days. He did not want to even get out and accept the Khilafah. So, and this is where Marwan ibn al-Hakam, which is the cousin, he took over, and it turned into his descendants at that point. The very first son of Marwan ibn al-Hakam is Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, what was the bay'ah? Well, how did Abdullah ibn Umar tell him the bay'ah? And this is the form. He says, and he wrote for him. He wrote it actually for him. He was in Medina. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan was in the north. He says, إني أقر بالسمع والطاعة لعبد الله ibn الملك أمير المؤمنين. He says, I submit, أقر من الإقرار. أفأقررتم إقرار. I submit and I clarify. بالسمع والطاعة. I mean listening and obeying. Same verbiage. You notice that to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. سمع والطاعة. لعبد الله ابن عبد الملك. لعبد الله ابن لعبد الله. He said عبد الله. عبد الملك أمير المؤمنين. He named him أمير المؤمنين. على سنة الله وسنة رسوله ما استطعت. I submit, or I give my oath to Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, the Amirul Mu'mineen, for me to listen and to obey on the sunnah, the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way of his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the sunnah, sunnatillah wa sunnati rasulih, mastata'at, as long as I am capable and able. He got it right, because that was the correct way to say it. Mastata'at. وَإِنَّ بَنِيَّ قَدْ أَقَرُّوا بِمِثْلِ ذَلِكَ. And my children, his offspring, they are also submitting with the same thing. And his offspring is a huge list of them, where they're Abdullah, one of them is called Abdullah, the other one is Abu Bakr, the other one is Abu Ubaidah, the other one is Bilal, the other one is Omar, the other one, their mother is from Safiya. And then there's another one, it's called Abdul Rahman, his name is Uqba, from another wife. And then he got Salim, Ubaidullah, Hamza from Walad, and then Wazaid from another mother. So he got so many children. So he took the oath of all his children and he submitted it with his own, and he wrote it to Amir al-Mu'min. He said, I submit to you with sama' wa ta'a, with hearing and obeying, as long as I am capable and able. The next hadith, this is a little bit lengthy, but inshallah we'll be able to cover it inshallah today. But it touches on a very important concept in Islam, and this is the concept of shura and the transfer of power. How is the democracy in Islam? How does it work? I did do a lecture a while back, about this, and I think it was specifically around the election time in here in the United States, our election of President Trump, and how the presidents get to be picked in the Islamic way. And I made khutbah about this also as well. But inshallah, we'll touch on this hadith because it goes to the heart of it and how the power was transferred and what is the essence of democracy in this hadith here. Inshallah, I'll go through it quick, even though most of you, mashallah, you know it, but we'll go through it inshallah. And Al-Miswar ibn Makhrama. Miswar ibn Makhrama, Qurashi, and his mother is Atika. She is the sister of Abdurrahman ibn Auf, famous Sahabi. So Abdurrahman ibn Auf is the uncle of Miswar ibn Makhrama. And in the duration of this event, Miswar ibn Makhrama, he was much younger, but he stuck to Abdurrahman ibn Auf, his uncle, throughout the whole process, and he kind of went through it step by step of what's going on. So he kind of told us of the whole events what has taken place. So what happened is, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam passed away. He did not name a predecessor, nobody who's going to take over after him, but he kind of gave some signs of who's going to be, and he gave the higher placement to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. One of the things that he did is that he allowed him, or actually he named him to be imam when he was ill, when he was sick. So he made him to be imam. Even though the objection of Al-Mu'mineen Aisha radiallahu anha, the daughter of Abu Bakr, she objected. She says, Ya Rasulullah, he cries a lot, and you're going to make him an imam. People are going to really get affected, psychologically and mentally about this. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, no, tell him to be an imam. Tell him to be 3 times. And then he made mushabaha, and he told her, oh, you are like the women of Musa, of Yusuf alayhi salam, where you argue and you do things that frivolous. Tell him to be an imam. So that was known, and then we know the events in Saqifa to Bani Sa'ida, where the Ansar, they got together to pick somebody after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam passed away. Ali ibn Abi Talib was not there, so Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar ibn Khattab, they took off with some of the Muhajirin. They met with the Ansar. They met together and they decided to give the Khilafah to the best of them, which is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. That was done. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he was on his sickbed and he passed away naturally, right? If you remember the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam climbed on the mountain of Uhud with Omar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and Uthman ibn Affan, 3 of them, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The Jabal, the mountain of Uhud, shook. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to the mountain, he says, be steady, be still. On top of you, there's a prophet, there's a Siddiq, and there's 2 shaheed. So the prediction was there. The prophecy was there. There's going to be, it is 1 prophet, 1 Siddiq, and 2 shaheed. And sure enough, Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, Uthman ibn Affan, they became shaheed, and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is still Siddiq. So he is on his sickbed. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq realized and understood that he's dying. So what he did, he says, today you are set free of my oath, of my mubay'ah. You are no longer, have to listen to me at that point. You don't have to obey me at this point. And you pick your own somebody for you to, to lead you. So they said, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said, we will be satisfied and happy with whatever you pick. So he says, if you do that, let me pick and choose for you. So he picked somebody, which is called, we say today, tazkiyah, by choosing somebody, not by somebody nominating himself. He actually was chosen by somebody to be reputable, to have a good reputation, and on and on. And of course, he picked who? He picked Omar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. But after he picked him, he went after everybody and he asked them, what do you think of it? What do you think of it? What do you think? Everybody signed off. Everybody said, he's the best Khalifa. He's the best Khalifa. except one, which is Talha ibn Ubaidillah, the Sahabi, and he's a very important Sahabi. He's one of the 10 Mubashsharina bil Jannah, the one who's going to enter the Jannah after the Hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam named 10 people. He's one of them. Talha ibn Ubaidillah looked at him and says, Ya Abu Bakr, how are you going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you're going to pick somebody or choose somebody who is so tough on us? He's going to be rough on us, like Omar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. And his toughness and roughness was well known. He has straight path. We know what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said about him. He says, if Omar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu goes on one path, the shaitan will choose and pick a different path to go in. He will never be joined together in the same road. Tough, straightforward, right to the point. No, no softness in his actions, in his heart. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu answered back. He looked at him. He says, are you threatening me with the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is that what you're saying to me by me picking somebody tough on you? He says, if I'm picking somebody who is, or I am talking about somebody, this somebody will be somebody the best as it can be. He's the third one in line, and he's the Mubashshar bil Jannah, and on and on. He gave madih for him. And eventually the word came down, the democracy took over as they chose somebody, good reputable somebody, good qualified somebody, and they took a vote on him. And everybody signed off. Somebody, percentage, whatever it is, disagreed, whatever reason. Well, the majority, democracy took over. So Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu became the Khalifa. Went down 13 years down the road, right? Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu making Salat al-Fajr. Abu Lu'lu al-Majusi, and he was not a Muslim. He's a Persian slave who was given recommendation by somebody for him to work in Medina. He snuck behind him and he took a knife, and he has a knife, very sharp, very long knife, and he stabbed him while he is being imam. While this happened, 13 other Sahabi, the whole line, everybody jumped on him. They wanted to stop him, to stop Abu Lu'lu al-Majusi. And he was able, Abu Lu'lu al-Majusi was able to cut and hurt 13 other Sahabi with a knife. Nobody had a knife with him, but he was taking a swing at all these different Sahabi. 13 people usually got injured. They took Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu to Tabib, the doctor. And Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu was sitting there, and the very first thing the doctor did, he gave him a drink of milk. Immediately, the minute he drank the milk came out of the wound. So he knew that Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu would be dead. So he looked around, he says, he has 3 days to live. That's it. Because obviously we know that if the lining of the stomach or the intestines get to be penetrated, the infection and all these enzymes and bacteria seeps out into the lining or the cavity of the stomach, and that will actually eat it up. The timeline of this, approximately 2 to 3 days. And I witnessed this, brothers. I had an acquaintance of mine where the appendix exploded inside of his stomach. And subhanAllah, appendix is very harmful, it's very hurtful. You feel a lot of pain, but this guy felt no pain. He felt a little bit discomfort. So it exploded inside his stomach, but subhanAllah, his wife told him, yeah, drink some water or drink some, something to ease off the pain. So the more water he drank actually seeped inside the cavity of his stomach. It took exactly a day and a half while he knew something was wrong and his stomach is getting bigger and on and on. With a little bit of pain, he went to the hospital, and actually there's an infection spread out inside the cavity of his stomach. They took out 2/3 of his stomach and approximately 80% of his intestines. It has to be removed because it was completely infected. And they took out part of the stomach, part of the lining of the outer wall, and on and on and on. So, subhanAllah, the timing was accurate. 3 days is the maximum amount of time for anybody to survive this kind of injury. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he is kind of passing away, and he's kind of alert and passing away. He's kind of in between, going back and forth. So he looked at everybody behind him. He says, you are completely off the oath that you've given me, the bay'ah that you have given me, mubay'ah. I'm no longer your Khalifa. Pick somebody for you. So they took off and they started to look around, whatever. They came back to him. He said, "Ya Omar," and he was awake at the time. He says, "Ya Omar, radiallahu anhu," he says, "You pick somebody for us." He says, "Well, why? Why aren't you guys doing this?" He says, "No, we respect you. We like your opinion. What do you think?" So he ended up naming 6 people from them to pick from. Who are these 6 people he chose? The criteria was these 6 people are 6 from the 10 who are mubashsharina bil Jannah. This going back to the same hadith all the way back in the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was with the Sahaba, these 10 Sahabi, and he named them by name, and they were making Salat al-Dhuhr. And there's a hadith about this which has taken place about the change of Qibla and on and on. What he did is that he looked back and he says, Abu Bakr in Jannah, Umar fil Jannah in Jannah, Uthman in Jannah, Uthman ibn Affan in Jannah, Ali ibn Abi Talib in Jannah, Talha ibn Ubaidillah in Jannah, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf in Jannah, Sa'id ibn Yazid in Jannah, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas in Jannah, الزبير بن العوام in Jannah, Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah in Jannah. 10. Who did Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu made a recommendation? Remember, the days of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the name boiled down to one right away. He made tazkiyah. He named one. Umar al-Khattab named 6, and he says, I recommend for you to pick out of 6. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq says, I recommend for you this guy, but you got to vote. You have to choose. And the same thing with Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. He named the 6, and he says you got to vote one out of them. And why is it 6? Where did the 6 come from? Originally there were 10. Well, very simple. One of them, actually 3 of them, 2 of them are dead already, which is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and the other one is Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, we know obviously he's the first Khalifa, already passed away. Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, he already passed away in Ta'un Imwas, in the plague of Imwas in the north, in the days of Umar al-Khattab. We know he passed away. He's not there. So they became 8. The third one is he's about to die, which is Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu himself. That would become 7. Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu wisely removed one of them, which is Sa'id ibn Zayd. He removed him from the list. He said, you don't pick him. Because, first of all, he's from the same tribe as Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. That's called nepotism. Number 1. Number 2 is, he is the wife of the brother of Umar ibn Khattab. His wife, the sister of Umar ibn Khattab is Atika radiallahu anha. She is the wife of Sa'id ibn Zayd. So this is more relationship to the existing, to the current, to the standing Khalifa. So he wisely removed him. He says, you don't go vote for him. So how many people left out of the 10 now? 6. 2 because of death. One of them is because he's dying. He's already the Khalifa. Number 4, he was removed because it's too much relationship, too close to the relationship to Umar ibn Khattab. He did not want to make it even to look, or even to allow to open the door for shaitan to get in and say, oh, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh, he chose somebody who's so close to him, somebody from his tribe. Or maybe it would have been a sunnah, people to say, oh, everybody's going to be from Bani Khuzaymah, from this tribe, the tribe of Umar ibn Khattab, there will be Khalifa from this point on, and on and on. So by eliminating this person, he eliminated not only the possibility of wrongdoing, and also he closed the door on shaitan for people to think wrong. Rahimallahu Umar al-Khattab. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him rahmah. What a smart man he was. And sadaqa Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam with the trust and the confidence he has given him overall, what he has said about him. So we got 6. Who are these 6? Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Uthman ibn Affan, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Zubayr ibn Awam, and we have Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Now it became 6, right? And by the way, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, what did he say? He says, you know what? And I will have somebody who's monitoring the operation. He named his own son. He says, Abdullah ibn Umar. He's monitoring, but he has nothing to do with this. And why did he do this? Why did he name him? Because Abdullah ibn Umar, radiallahu anhu, his own son Abdullah, and he was Sahabi, very famous Sahabi, and he was, even though he was young in the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but he was very well known with his knowledge, with his Quran, with his ibadah. He was very well respected. He was, I mean, he's faqih. He's one of the highest fuqaha. And people immediately, they thought, oh, let's give the Khilafah to Abdullah ibn Umar, to the son of Umar. Immediately, Umar radiallahu anhu, he shut that door right off the bat. He says, enough of harm and hurt and possible trouble that one from Bani Khattab got into, which is him, Omar. He said, I don't want my son to go into it also as well. Don't get into it. So he was out. But he named him to monitor. In other words, don't think that he's being neglected or he's being left out. He's included in the process because of his wisdom, because of his knowledge, because of his fiqh and his ilm, but he will never be Khalifa. It's a very wise thing to do, you know, in the way that he chose him to follow up on this. So immediately, what happened? Talha ibn Ubaidillah, he looked, he says, I will give my vote to Uthman ibn Affan. I have nothing to do with this. I don't want it. That's one eliminated. And then Sa'id ibn Zayd, he walked up, he says, I will give my vote to Ali ibn Abi Talib. I don't want it. Right? Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he looked up, he says, I don't want this. I will give my vote to Abdurrahman ibn Auf. So now from 6 got eliminated down to 3. The third one is Abdurrahman ibn Auf himself. He says, I don't want any of it, and I will vote to one out of you, either Uthman ibn Affan or Ali ibn Abi Talib. You are the ones. So, and this is what the hadith is about. This is what the hadith revolves around, this thing, what has taken place. I gave you that long introduction of how to make tazkiyah, who to pick. Who do we pick? Who do we pick from? Do we pick somebody who is an actor? Somebody who is happen to be a governor? Somebody who's a professor? Somebody who is a model? Who do we pick? We pick the most qualified person. And the most qualified person in those days, obviously, the ones who gained the most ridha and satisfaction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's the one who is assured to be in Jannah, 1 out of the 10. This is the ones who are picked, the ones who have the good reputation, the ones who have the good character, the ones who have a good relationship, who is khushu' and khunu' and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the people you get to pick from. We don't pick somebody because he has the possibility for him to beat the other guy. We don't agree on him because he happened to be white or black or, you know, a person of color. Or we don't disagree on somebody because he happened to be this way or that way. He has to be picked because of his character and moral standard, because of closeness to the deen and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and on and on. And you could see the beauty of this. Now, these people are picked. These people are basically nominated, not by themselves. You don't get to nominate yourself. They will be make tazkiyah to them. They will be nominated by others, but others now they have to choose from them to have the true democracy. So democracy, even though it is the rule of the people, but it has to be constricted. It has to be ruled. It has to be within parameters. Not anybody could go out there and say, I nominate myself. I'm going to spend $1 billion to put my name out there for people to know me. Or because I have a show on TV, or because I was an actor, because I'm well known, somebody who possibly posed nude for so many times, people, you know me, well, I will be your president or your ruler, your king, whatever. That doesn't work like this. You need to have the moral character and the ability. Let's listen to the hadith. Miswar ibn Makhrama, he accompanies his uncle Abdurrahman ibn Auf on this, and he witnessed the whole thing. He says, Inna ar-rahta wallahum Umar. The rahat in Arabic, by the way, some of the brothers, I think they would ask about the word rahat. Rahat means, and mentioned in the Quran, rahat also are the people who were chosen and picked from, the 9 actually, who picked and chosen to kill the naqa, to kill the camel for the people of Thamud. There were 9 they picked. Rahat means 10 or less. It was called Raht. That's the number. So, إِنَّ الرَّهْطَ الَّذِينَ وَلَّهُمْ عُمَرْ, the 10 who Umar al-Khattab named them, or less than 10, which is, we know the number exactly, is 6. اجتمعوا فتشاوروا. The all 6 got together, فميك مشورة, they made consultation amongst each other. فقال لهم عبد الرحمن بن عوف, he says, لست بالذي أنافسكم على الأمر. He says, I'm not going to compete with you on this. In other words, I am out. I nominate myself, or I am leaving myself out. I have nothing to do with this. ولكنكم إن شئتم, if you wanted to, اخترت لكم منكم, I would choose one from you. So basically what he did is that he put himself out, but he has the credibility. He says, I will help you to choose one from you. In other words, I will take over the process. But if you allow me, if you choose me, allow me to do this. فجعلوا ذلك إلى عبد الرحمن. They said, that's it. This is your thing. You, the one who get to handle the process. فجعلوا لعبد الرحمن. And obviously Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf, we know, he's a great place. He's very rich, extremely rich. As we know, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he made, he made dua for him. And also when he arrived in Medina, he made mu'akha between him and another Ansari. The Ansari, he told him, he says, look, this is half my money. And this is what I got 2 wives. You pick one and you take half my money and it's yours. And half my house is yours. Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf, radiallahu anhu, he says, I made dua for him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and bless your family. Dulluni ila suq. He said, tell me where the market is. And he said the hadith, he says, Wallahi, by the name of Allah, every time I lifted a rock, I found gold underneath it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him so much money. And he was very well respected. He was very much, he used to give, he used to be very generous, very well respected. So, فَلَمَّا وَلَّوْا عَبْدُ الرَّحْمَنِ أَمْرَهُمْ, when they gave the amr, they gave the order or the way to run it to Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf, فمال الناس إلى على عبد الرحمن حتى ما أرى أحدا من الناس يتبع أولئك الرهطة ولا يطأ عقبه. He said, all the people went to Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf. Nobody approached the other 5. Nobody came to them. What does that tell you? Don't rally for yourself. Don't sit there and talk about yourself. Now you get to stand still, and we get to pick and choose from these 5. Very interesting concept, huh? Very interesting idea what has happened. فَمَالَ النَّاسُ, look what it says. فَمَالَ النَّاسُ عَلَى عَبْدِ الرَّحْمَنِ حَتَّى مَا أَرَى, until the point, it says, all the people went to Abd al-Rahman, until the point that I've never seen anybody talking to the other 5. As we say today, Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf, radiallahu anhu, he was the head of the election committee. He was the head of the process. So this is the dealing and wheeling happen. The nominees, they don't get to dispute, they don't get to talk, they don't get to do things at this point. But let's see what has happened. وَمَالَ النَّاسُ عَلَى عَبْدِ الرَّحْمَنِ يُشَاوِرُونَهُ. They went to him, they make a mashwara with him. تِلْكَ اللَّيَالِي, until at night, late at night. حَتَّى إِذَا كَانَتِ اللَّيْلَةِ الَّتِي أَصْبَحْنَا مِنْهَا. Until that night, until we make sabah, until we got in the morning from it, that we made mubayah to Uthman. He says, talks about that specific night. Al-Miswar, he says, طرقني عبد الرحمن بعد هجع من الليل. He says, he came to me after I slept part of the night. After I shot, I used to go to sleep. He says, he knocked on my door. فضرب الباب حتى استيقظت. He kept on hitting the door until استيقظت, until I got up or woke up. فقال, عبد الرحمن says, أراك نائما. He says, I see you sleep. And he says, فوالله, he says, by the name of Allah, ما اكتحلت هذه الثلاثة بكثير نوم. He says, by the name of Allah, for the last 3 nights, I barely got any sleep. The head of the election committee, what was he doing? Working. He barely got any sleep. The process has to be fast. The ummah cannot be left without Khalifa. You cannot lengthen it. That will cause a lot of insecurities, a lot of problems, a lot of interest, and on and on. Who is taking over? Who took it seriously? Abd al-Rahman. He says, the Miswara, he's the one who accompanied him. He says, what? I see you sleeping. He says, by the name of Allah, the last 3 days I barely got any sleep. انطلق. He says, go ahead. فادعوا الزبير وسعدا. Call for me, Zubayr ibn Abu Awam and Sa'd ibn Zayd, the two out of the six. This was the two out of the five, excluding Abdurrahman. فدعوته, he says, I took off and I called them for him. فشاورهما, he spoke to them. ثم دعاني, and then he called me again. He says, call for me Ali. And by the way, if I don't say radiallahu anhum, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all the rida. For the short of hadith, I don't repeat it too much like that. So he says, call Ali radiallahu. فدعوته, he came to him. فناجاه حتى إظهار الليل. He kept on talking to him, like, you know, in secrecy, kind of nobody heard what they were saying, until the middle of the night. إظهار الليل. ثم قام علي من عنده وهو على طمع. Ali ibn Abi Talib got up, but he had his eye on the Khilafah. He had his eye on it. وكان عبد الرحمن يخشى من علي شيئا. عبد الرحمن ibn Auf used to be fearful of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He used to be fearful about something. But Miswar ibn Makhrama did not know what it was. And this is, he used to be afraid of Ali ibn Abi Talib might do something. Well, let's find out if it's mentioned in the hadith or not. I don't want to beat the hadith. ثم قال ادعوا لي عثمان. He says, call for me Uthman. So Uthman radiallahu anhu showed up. فدعوته فناجاه حتى فرق بينهما المؤذن بالصبح. He says he had a secret conversation with him until the al-mu'adhin and Salat al-Fajr. So the whole night they're up, they're talking, they're discussing. فلما صلى للناس الصبح واجتمع أولئك الرهط, when the morning come and people made صلاة الصبح, صلاة الفجر, made صلاة عند المنبر, فأرسل إلى من كان حاضرا من المهاجرين والأنصار. He stood by the member and then he called all muhajirin and ansar. He called everybody. وأرسل إلى أمراء الأجناد, and he ordered, or he called upon the umara, all the leaders of the army, the leaders of, you know, whatever it is, all the people who have the placement. وكانوا وافوا تلك الحجة مع عمر, and this is the ones who came with Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, with the hajjah, with what has happened to him, with him at that point. فلما اجتمعوا, when everybody gathered, تشهد عبد الرحمن بن عوف said أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. ثم قال, and then he says, أما بعد يا علي, أما بعد, oh Ali, إني نظرت في أمر الناس. He says, I looked upon what the people are doing. What was Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf was doing for 3 days? We know the other hadith, also mentioned in some other places, that he was knocking on everybody's door 3 days straight, asking people, what do you think? Ali or Uthman? Ali or Uthman? Ali or Uthman? He even talked to women in their own homes. He even talked to children playing on the streets. What do you guys think? Who's going to be? Who do you guys pick and choose? Ali or Uthman? Who do you guys want? And everybody said across the board, they said either or, either or, either or. Nobody has really differentiated this way or that way. So the third day at Salat al-Fajr, he already got a perfect idea who's going to be, and already the elimination process started. So all the people are out. There's only 2 people left, which is Uthman and Ali, and the picking happened between them. So he says, Ya Ali, inni nazartu fi amri nasi falam arihim ya'diluna bi'uthman. He says, I've never found them making an equal to Uthman. In other words, he found out that during the 3 days of whatever he has heard, that Uthman ibn Affan, he actually tipped the scale somehow. So he says, they did not find an equal to Uthman. فَلَا تَجْعَلَنَّ عَلَى نَفْسِكَ سَبِيلًا. He said, don't find a way to yourself. فقال, and this is the saying to Abdurrahman ibn Auf to Uthman ibn Affan, he says, إِنِّي أُبَايِعُكَ عَلَى سُنَّةِ اللَّهِ وَسُنَّةِ رَسُولِهِ وَالْخَلِيفَتَيْنِ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ. I said, I make mubayah. I'm giving an oath to Sama' wa Ta'a, the same oath that they always give to Uthman ibn Affan. فَبَايَعَهُ. Abdurrahman ibn Auf make mubayah to him. فَبَايَعَهُ النَّاسِ. Everybody lined up in line, including Ali ibn Abi Talib. He stood there and he made mubayah and he gave the oath to Uthman ibn Affan to be third Khalifa at that point. The other hadith actually says something a little bit different. What it says is that he stood between both of them. maybe privately or maybe together. And he told them, he says, look, what if today Uthman ibn Affan, if he started addressing Ali, so Uthman ibn Affan is accepted and he's the one. Are you going to give him mubay'ah? Are you going to give it to him? Ali ibn Abi Talib says, absolutely. And he addressed Uthman ibn Affan. He says, how about if Ali ibn Abi Talib was picked? Are you going to give him the mubay'ah to him? He says, Uthman ibn Affan submitted. He says, absolutely. So there was an agreement ahead of time, is that there was not going to be any dispute. It will be a transfer, a peaceful transfer of power between them. Very simple. So that's how Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh was picked, chosen to be the Khalifa in the most democratic way, in the best way, that he was chosen from the people and towards the people, and with the choices of the people of who is the right person to do the job. And we're going to stop here, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and bless this gathering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, bless us and make us, inshallah, from the ones who are forgiven. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our gathering here marhum, and make our walking away from it, inshallah, ma'soom, and make it, inshallah, in a better placement. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Wa iyaakum, inshallah. Inshallah, if